Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to another EP, episode 2 of the Prosper Performance Podcast. It's your boy Jay here with my man Gabe.
What's up,
Um,
guys?
what's going on, everybody? So, look, we got another special EP. You're probably gonna hear me say special EP every time because every EP is special. You feel me?
hmm
So, today we're gonna talk a little bit about just purpose and passion and just how we kind of navigated our lanes to get to where we are or feel like we have a good grip on where we're going, and also just try to give some game and give some value on how you may be able to do the same in your lives, and figure out that lane that you want to pursue in life, and feel like it's something that actually resonates with your heart and not just something somebody else told you. So
hmm
yeah, I mean, we could hop straight into it. So
Let's do it.
I guess by starting, Gabe. So if y'all don't know Gabe, if y'all tuned in the last EP, Gabe runs glove work training, helping wide receivers, and just explain more about that, about what
Yeah,
you're
so
doing
it's
right
it's
now. Yeah.
it's just a private training company. I'm training like wide receivers and defensive backs, like in a group setting, kind of like just a lot of position work, skill work. Just like really honing in on their fundamentals, on their craft, and like just providing drills and kind of like mentorship and coaching, just on how to like even just like how to have your mindset prepared for the game, little things like that, and also just like going over their technique and like making sure they have a solid fundamental base. Just like properly wanting to send and kind of help set up these guys so if they do want to play at the next level in college or whatever, like they are capable of doing that and they have a full knowledge and like a full, I guess, arsenal in their just attached to them so that they can come prepared like whenever to wherever school that they go to. So
Got you. So with your background, being in football and starting in playing and stuff like that, how did you make that pivot, I guess, to wanting to help other people and really feeling like that's more in alignment with what you're supposed to be doing as instead of playing? Like, because I feel like that's a
um
big distinction that people, think they're supposed to be doing one thing because that's the quote unquote main thing in the industry, like just playing. That's most people's thinking, but you took it a whole different route and created something new of your own. So like, kind of
right.
touch on how you were able to do that.
So basically, like I have like a very interesting journey, and it was honestly to kind of give a background. Like it wasn't, I didn't think it was the right journey, and like I was on the right journey until I really looked at it and analyzed and realized that everyone's journey is different. Because I was spending so much time comparing my journey to others and thinking that I wasn't like fully like just at that level that I was able to pursue what I wanted to do, just because I didn't have as like strong or as of like correct as background as some of the other guys in this industry have. But my background is basically like the biggest reason why I started this and I chose the lane to quit playing and to start mentoring and preparing is because I was just going off my own experiences of I went to a high school that just wasn't very solid in preparing kids for college, like for a college program and for just for something of that sort. And that's kind of like a genuine or like a general statement, but really what that means is like the game of football is very, very complex, and it's taught very differently at a youth and the high school level versus like at college and the NFL level. At least in this area, there's a huge drop off between like college stuff and like the high school stuff, and so it makes it a lot like very hard for people specifically like within this area in Colorado and Denver, to go to a big school and really succeed, because a lot of the coaches in this area like don't have college backgrounds, and some of them do, and the ones that do like do a really good job here and whatever, but a lot of them don't. And I've kind of learned to know that a lot of these coaches who don't have the correct experience, even just coaching at the next level, what they're really doing is that sometimes they're hurting kids who could have gone somewhere or could have played somewhere, who had solid athleticism, solid skills, but like they just weren't like properly guided and mentored through those levels. So they really ended up just like kind of going to college and doing their own thing and may possibly even feeling lost. So really what happened to me is like the first day I got to practice at Colorado State University. Like I remember we were running routes on air. So it's like all the wideouts, we're just running routes, like literally on air with no one on us, kind of just developing a little bit of chemistry with the cues. And I was running like a few of the routes, like the way that I remember our receiver coach in high school, like kind of telling the guys how to run them.
Mhm.
And like immediately after I finished some of the routes, like our head coach and my receiver coach, were screaming at me, like, and it's honestly, I have no other way to say it, but like I just was not, I had no knowledge, I had no way of like knowing how to run that route because I was taught really the wrong things in high school, you know. So literally from that point on, like day one of practice there, and for the next like 2 years, I was like, I have to make the change because I knew too, like looking back literally at the class that was at my high school and like around those other high schools, like I knew that those kids were still doing the same type of things that I was doing in that
Mhm.
moment. I knew that that wasn't the right way. So it kind of just made me want to make an impact and help like create a change. And really, since I was younger, like I felt like I've always had a calling where I needed to help people, and I just
Mhm.
never really knew what it was. And so I kind of fell in love with putting in work behind the scenes and like doing work where no one was watching because I found that it brought a lot of confidence and a lot of like passion, a lot of just more, a lot more results with that type of work. And so um, I kind of just had like a lot of time of reflection and quiet in a quiet area, and it kind of just came to me. Like I felt
Mhm.
like after I did a lot of reflection, a lot of like actually just sitting down and being like, what the hell do I like to do? You know, like
Yeah.
what do I? And I really broke it down to a real like general base,
Yeah.
and it took that for me to like really click in and be like, oh, okay, because I was so lost in like the everyday things and like doing like just everyday life, school and shit. Like I was never really able to have time to really just lock in with myself and be like, what do I need to do? Like, what's my calling? Like where do I feel like I have like a passion for, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like tune out the
And
noise of just like all the other voices too, I think, right?
yep, yep. And that's why I said silence. Like a lot of sitting around in silence. Like you can't have music playing, you can't be watching anything. It's really just you and your mind. And you find a lot about that. And that's what I think is a big thing with our society, even now. Like a lot of people, like they just don't ever have silence ever, you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
I think that can help lead people into becoming very lost and very confused because really they never give themselves any time to like really sit down with themselves and like really come to peace in terms with themselves. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
And I
They
want to
spend so
touch,
much time. What
yeah.
were you saying?
I was just gonna say I want to touch on that too. It's just like, you know, I know a lot of people may feel like that and then place blame on society for that. So like, you know, oh, we have all the social media, we have our phones, we have, you know, all this stuff at all times, and oh, it's so hard. And I wish we could just go back to the 90s when we didn't have phones and all this other shit that people be saying. It's like, nah, like we got to take that personal responsibility to recognize what's good for ourselves and like not let the outside world influence how we manage our inside world. You feel me? 'Cause
Absolutely.
yeah, because it's like, you know, we have control. Like you could turn your phone off. You could just turn it off, you know, turn the TV off. Like you could sit there. It might
Hmm.
be uncomfortable. And, you know, 9 times out of 10, it probably will be the first time you do it. But you have to know that leads to growth over
Right.
time. Yeah.
Right. And that feeling of uncomfort is very, very powerful.
Hmm. And
So,
also, just something else like that resonated with me in your story is just like it's really like a lot of the key. I feel like I'm seeing similarities with a lot of people's success stories, which is just like going and turning that pain into your purpose. You feel me? Because it's like you experience that pain from the coaches, you experience that pain of being, you know, mentored and led in the wrong direction, and you recognize that, and now it's just like, okay, I have to do something about this. It's like you're not being selfish. You putting it outside of yourself is like, okay, I've experienced this. I don't want other people to experience this. So to not let other people experience this, I'm gonna help them
right.
based on my own experience. And
Absolutely.
experiences are so powerful. Um, you know, that's what people resonate with the most. But I don't know if you want to touch on that, like the pain, the purpose, just
Yeah. I mean, no, I think that's a very good point. Like, I think that the hard part about it, bro, is like the whole pain thing. Like, it took it's very easy to sit here and talk about it and be like, oh, this is my journey. Like, but for a while, like it took a lot longer than I would have liked it to, you know? So that like I put a lot of emphasis on that pain phase because that phase lasted like 2 years, 2.5 years, you know? So it
mhm,
wasn't like a 1 month long thing or like a week long, like that shit took a while and a lot of those times between those years, like was a lot of self-doubt, like a lot of like low points with my like with my self-esteem, a lot of low points, you know, because there was a lot of confusion and a lot of things going on. So it's hard. Like I really don't want to make it seem like it was like, oh yeah, I had a little bit of pain, but right after that, like I bounced right back. Like I just want the viewers to understand, like it takes a while, you know. And I guess I'm kind of just saying that because I want to like make sure I'm relatable and make sure that like people understand that it's not like I got it immediately, you know.
Yeah.
Like it took time and it took patience. And the reason I say that is because that really transfers over with everything, like
Yeah.
within the kind of what we're talking about is just patience and like being able to just to strap in and kind of trust the ride, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
And
mean,
do you feel like the longer you sat in that pain, it help you get more clear on like more so your purpose now? Because I feel like if we allow ourselves to have like short-lived pain and then try to relieve it with all these other escape mechanisms and smoking, drinking, and just trying to forget about it and not really
mhm,
sitting with that pain for a minute, like just
right,
fully embracing it and just like, I do not want to feel like this no more. I feel terrible. How can I
yeah.
help somebody that ever feel like this again? Like,
See, and that's a very very good point too. Is what you said just about the like kind of the medicating it and trying to forget it. Like that consisted too in those years, you know, of not like it took me a while to get out of that. And honestly, in the last episode, I was talking about how quarantine changed this. Like I think quarantine was one of the best things that ever happened in my life, you know, because I honestly like without that happening, I don't know if I would be here right now in this same
yeah,
spot. Because the thing about the quarantine that was so powerful to me is I saw everyone, like all my friends, or not really all my friends, like all people on my social media, like we're getting fucked up every day, like trying to do things just to survive the quarantine.
hmm
And I thought that was very, very toxic because I pay attention to like a specific list of professional athletes on my Instagram,
hmm
just like as good influences. And I've really tried to pay more attention to them and like less attention to like just the people around me who I follow. And they were posting a lot during that time of like in quotes, if you come out of this quarantine the same person as you were last before it, like it was a failure. And when I saw that quote, I remember Deion Sanders posted that. When I saw that quote, I was like, damn.
yeah,
And I stopped literally from that day on, like I stopped everything, like
yeah,
everything. Because leading up to that, like I was in that same type of phase, like just trying to get through it, you know, trying to like survive and trying, you know, and that's like it's very, very toxic. And I know a lot of people were doing that. And I know a lot of people who came out of that phase, like literally the same person. And I
yeah,
just told myself, like, I've never looked at myself like I was an average person.
yeah,
And like when I saw that quote posted, I'm like, I got to kick it in, like I got to go. And so that's when it really
yeah,
came down. And honestly, it made it easy because we were in quarantine, so it was easy for me to shut down. So I'm very thankful for that, and I'm very grateful because that like it was literally like God just handing me this time that like
yeah,
we never normally get in our lives to really
yeah,
just sit down and be like, what are you gonna do? And that's really what I did. Like I just when I saw that quote, like something clicked in my mind where I'm like, what the hell am I doing right now? You know?
yeah.
And I
It's
felt
like,
like what were
oh,
you
go
saying?
ahead, go ahead.
I just felt like I just did not want to waste any time, you know, like because once I started, I hit that click. I started going on YouTube and like watching a lot of videos on like how to like develop more confidence within yourself, like from a professional standpoint. How do you do these things? And one of the first videos I ever watched was about the purpose.
Yeah,
And this dude was saying like once you find a purpose and like it's a true purpose for you in life, you stick to that and you always remember that purpose, like you will first of all like slowly develop confidence and like maintain that confidence. But it's a different type of confidence. It's not like an ego or anything. It's like you're at peace with yourself knowing that you and only you like truly know what you're doing, you know. And so like
it's a
when
bar.
i look at like my social page, because for a while, like when I was starting glove work, I was like a little scared to really put content out because I was unsure of myself at the time, and I was like, is this really going to work? And then once I really found the passion and like I watched that video and I started like writing all these things down, like taking notes. Once I started to do that, like I started to put my face in front of the camera. I started making content and I started to like really go in with it. And the more I did that and the more I kept that purpose in mind, the less I paid attention to outside voices, to other things. Cause I knew I was probably gonna get like shit on by just like other people. Cause naturally, like when you start to do things like this, like people are gonna start to turn on you. We're gonna start to say things because they're not okay with themselves and they're not okay with like putting themselves out there. They'd rather hide in their shell and just like look at the people who are actually doing things, and like it makes them feel better about themselves, you know?
That's
So once
important.
I
Yeah.
once I locked in with that idea and like had that idea, I'm like, oh, it's over. Like I'm going, like
Yeah.
my mind really just hit that tunnel vision, like kind of what you were talking about last time of like, I literally I'm not seeing anyone except like this end goal for me, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
And
I think that purpose is sorry to cut you off, but that
yeah.
purpose, like that is really the base of like what started all of this for me.
Hmm.
Because and to this day, like I write it down every single day, like in either in my planner or in like this journal I have, like every day I remind myself about my purpose, even if it's just at night or in the morning or both. So that way I'm always refreshed and like I'm always remembering, like what I'm supposed to do and like what the true meaning of this work that I'm putting in is for,
Yeah. And that's that tactical, practical advice that people need to hear on how to get concrete on that. Like that, writing it down, write the vision and make it plain, like it's in the Bible. Like, write that down, like, get concrete on that. Like I think that helps so many people to stay focused on that. Cause I know like I've had stuff written down and forget about it and then do the whole self-reflection process again, and then get back to the same thing that I was already on. It's just like, I already knew this. Like, why am I tripping? Because I'm not constantly reminding myself and I'm letting outside voices influence me. Um,
Mm,
and a couple things I wanted to touch on, just based on what you said, like you dropped a lot of gems, a lot of keys in there for people. One big thing is like in quarantine, I feel like it was really like a flashlight on your demons. It's like,
mm,
it's like you really couldn't run from them no more. Like you couldn't make the
mm,
excuses no more. It's just like putting the flashlight on yourself and just like all that shit that you just been throwing back and just like going to work and just drinking and just like all that stuff comes to the light when you have nothing to do, and it's just like, okay, what do I do? What do I want to do? Like, you had a lot more freedom and ability to go into that solitude. And you know for me, it helped me to really realize, okay, what I was really struggling with. Cause I would make excuses on like, oh, I'm just busy. Like I got a lot of stuff going on. I can't do this. I can't do that. When you don't got nothing going on, you just come to the point where you're like, oh, I'm just lazy. Like it's like, and then when you get honest with yourself about that, you have that self-awareness, you can get to work on that. You feel me? Like you could seek out the information to get better with that. Okay, if I am lazy, how do I get more discipline? How do I get more consistent? And that just ties back into that the purpose aspect of what you was talking about. That helped you with that. Like that helped you once you got concrete about what you were doing it for. It lights another fire in you once you had that purpose. Like Gary Vee says, it's like you're not lazy, you just bored.
mm,
Like if you don't like what you do, you're
mhm,
gonna be lazy. You feel me? But if you
mhm.
have something higher on why you're doing it, your purpose and everything like that, you're not really gonna be lazy because it's like you want to do it. You feel me?
Right.
Um,
You have passion for
it,
it.
yeah. And then also just like the last thing you was touching on was just like the focus aspect of just like the ability to, say no to everything else. I think it's so powerful and really to lock in with your vision only. And that can be your barometer for when something else comes up, because it's always going to be something. Like,
Mhm.
I think I was at a point in one time in life where it's just like, okay, once you locked in, nothing else is going to try to deter you from that. Like there's no going to be no roadblocks. But
Right.
if you know where you're going, like it's just like a GPS. If you know where you're going, when the roadblocks come, you could just take a detour, just go
Right.
around it because you still staying on that path and you don't get
Right.
stuck in front of those roadblocks. So I think it's so important to you know understand what your purpose is, understand where your vision is going to, and then also reiterating that with the writing it down and just keeping yourself focused on that and that only. Because so many people's doing so many different things,
Mhm.
especially if you're in that space and you have that positivity on your timeline and stuff like that. I know social media has been an issue for me because I see so many people making money this way. Or you can make money in real estate, you can make money in stocks, crypto, you can make money with this business model, with this. You could be an athlete, you could do this, you could do this, you could do this. But
Right.
what do I want to do?
Right. It's overwhelming.
Yeah, yeah.
I think too, kind of to add on to that, I think that what you were saying about how like the thousand different lanes of things to do and how it's overwhelming for people, I think that one of the things I wanted to touch on too is I understand and I realize that like a lot of people who aren't like you and me, like they probably they might not have like that certain niche to them yet,
Yeah.
that certain thing where like they know, you know what I mean? Because like with you kind of have your like an idea of what you want to do, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I'm the same. I think a lot of people, they might have not have been like able to get their feet in certain like situations when they were earlier growing up or whatever. So like they
Mm-hmm.
might not feel like they have like enough experience or enough things to understand like what they want to do yet, you know, which is a whole other lane in its own. And so I wanted to address that too, because I don't want those people to feel forgotten or like feel like we like that's not a thing, because it is, you know, like there's people who just maybe like didn't get their feet wet enough in certain things, or like maybe they did and they just don't feel it yet, you know. And honestly, one of the things I would say for that is like at this point, especially with our age, like 22, 23, 24, in that area, like I feel like it's the age for people just to go and just try things, like just do things, you know, whether it's like just try a different job or try a different thing, or you know what I mean? Because like you don't know unless you try. And I will say too, like that uncomfort feeling that you'll feel from that
Mm-hmm.
will, it might suck in the beginning, but like in the long run, that's like really building up your whole journey and in your whole like marathon. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's really like creating a base of it. And it's not easy for people to do that, especially people like who are kind of, maybe they're doing a job they hate, but it's making money, you know, or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
I just think it's a tough ground, because it's really like it's up to that person whether or not they want to be happy or not. But for the people who do want to be happy and like maybe realize that they're not happy, it's got to come in those extra hours of the day that aren't being used. And that's really like where you have to push, and that's where like mental strength, and that's where like self-discipline really kicks in. And kind of like what you were talking about with the gym, that's why I think fitness is so key, because the discipline it teaches you from that can help translate into this type of lane of
Mm-hmm.
understanding like, yes, I have to work a 9 to 5, and then after that I'm going to eat, and then from like 7 to 9 or 7 to 10 I'm going to do something that I want to do, with the goal and like the aspiration of like actually pursuing that later on, just not right now yet. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Getting to that point where you
And
could do it full time and just like that be
yeah,
your thing. Yeah.
yeah. I wanted to give a shout out to, so my friend Andy, I think you met Andy, but he's friends with Nick too. So Andy is working for this company, and he's a part of this startup called TMR, and it's called Track My Ride, and it's for school buses, and it's like an app and a program for parents to track the school buses that their kids are on. And it's just like a safer thing, and it's something that I think should be used for all these different types of school districts. So he's working for this normal company, and he works like long hours from like 7 or like 8 to 5, and then he goes from like 6 to like 10 every single night, even sometimes Saturdays and Sundays. And like I really want to shout out him for that, because one, it's kept me on my shit too, but also because that's a perfect definition and perfect example of like truly pursuing what you love, and like he knows what his purpose is. He's just trusting that it's not coming just yet. You know what I mean?
Shout out
So
Andy. That's what the people
yeah,
need to hear. That work.
yes,
At work.
yes,
You can't avoid the
yes.
work. You can't
You
run from the
can't,
work.
you
Work
can't.
is gonna be there. It's the separator. It's the, everybody has the ability. It's all inside of all of us. But if you really want it, it's how you it's the separator from who really wants it and who really doesn't. If
Who's
you really want
dodging?
the things, yeah, you just, it's the work. And, like you said, as we're young, I'm 22. What are you, 23?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, we in that age range, like you said, we like fresh out of college, mostly, usually, I dropped out, but like, just trying to figure out a lane. And, you know, I think we do kind of get too hung up on, oh, what am I supposed to be doing lifelong? Like, is this my lifelong thing? Or like, is this going to be my purpose forever? Anything like that. Um, like you said, we don't really know that until we go through experiences and test different things and try different things. And, somebody might
Mm,
say, well, I don't even know what I like to do. I'm a big believer in intuition and just like, what you want to do. If, let me ask you this, if you could do anything in the world, if you had a dream job, and you believe that it was possible to do, what would you do? Gun to your head, 5 seconds, what would you do? And just
yeah.
like first thing that comes out your mouth, oh, I'll be this. Okay, why are you not doing that? Like just go,
Mm,
and then just go blindly into that thing. It's just
mm-hmm.
like, I think, and then stemming off of that, I think a reason why a lot of people don't do that thing is because of two things. Well, basically one thing, which is fear. You know, fear
Mm,
of being judged by the outside, just like how you said. Once you start going that lane, people will treat you different. But I'll just sum it
yep,
up as that. And also
yep,
just fear of failure and not believing that it can happen for you. You might think that, oh, that person's just special. That person's just different. I can't do it. Or, having this disbelief in your head is just like, you're not worthy of being able to accomplish something like that when you could do anything. And we've seen the story. That's why I think it's like powerful to watch these interviews and just tapping into people's stories and things, experiences, because you see that a lot of people came from positions that were either worse than you or the same position that you're in. So you
right,
can make it happen. It's just like you said, that separator, that work.
right. No, seriously, and damn, yeah, that's deep. I think, yeah, you killed that. I think the work, it's hard. It's hard though too because I think especially for you and me, like with a sports background, with you and hoops, and like with me in football, like we have an understanding of somewhat of like what the work is like, and obviously the work that was put in those sports is different, like because it's actual physical things versus this type of work, but it's the same type of thing. So
Yeah,
the reason I'm bringing this up is because I feel like you and I had like a decent vision or like a decent like picture of what the work was like, of
yeah,
having to be asked to do work, but really it's about taking that and translating that into now, you know. And I think that the problem is some people like they didn't have that, like maybe they didn't have a sports background, or maybe they just didn't understand like truly what discipline was when they were younger,
mm-hmm.
and so it's hard for them to gain that. And so it's probably much harder to develop that now in your 20s than it was like when you were 10, so
Yeah,
that is difficult, but I do think that it is very, very important. Like the work is going to be sitting there and like you can leave it be for a few hours, but it's going to be right there when you come back. Like it's never going to
yeah,
leave. And the hard part is like, or really the easy part is like, it's there for everyone to pick up. It's just a matter of who picks it up and who goes through with it.
yeah,
And the problem is like no one kind of touch on the comfort thing. Like no one wants to be uncomfortable. So no
yeah,
one wants to reach their hand there and grab it. Like once you go all in, like bro, honestly, I get a natural high now from doing work, like from doing work, you know, like
yeah,
I've had that trend and obviously like kind of the question you asked about with the gun to the head, like the job I'm doing right now is that, like that would
yeah,
be my answer. So it's hard because like I have found my lane right now and I feel really good with it. So it's easy for me to say this right now, but like the work has to come, like you have to do it, and the work is different for everyone. Like there's no set thing on work, like for me a lot of my work is social media shit,
yeah,
you know so my work is a lot different than like my friend Andy, who's like doing a lot of desk stuff and a lot of work and like actual emails and contact and stuff. So I salute him for that. My work's a
yeah,
lot more like, how do I recruit more people, how do I present this product of mine to really like look professional and to look attractive and to really like, how do I make an image that really encapsulates like all the work that we do and like give that out to the people so that they can consume it? You know what I mean?
yeah,
So it's there's very different types of work, and I think people get overwhelmed when they hear that word work and they hear that and they immediately expect they have to go to a desk for like 6 hours a day, or stay up to like 3 in the morning doing it. Like it's not necessarily that. It's just like whatever you have to do in that lane, like you have to give everything you have and make sure that you're putting your foot forward with it, you know.
yeah. Couple things I
So
want to touch on with that. Pharrell had dropped this bar. It was a bar from the Bible. I was watching the podcast, him and Steve Stout. Shout out Pharrell. He was like, verse in the Bible was, "The harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few."
mm,
The harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few.
I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah, I was happy when I first heard it. First time I ever heard it too. I'm like, wow, that's so true. Because it's just like,
That's needed.
bro, like it's out there. It's an abundance of it, but who's gonna go out there, and then he elaborated on it with, so I'm just like still on all Pharrell bars right now, but like he elaborated with like most people think that the hardest thing is planting the seed. That's the easy part.
Mm-hmm.
You go out, you drop the seed in the ground, that's the easy part. Now when it
Mm-hmm.
grows and when it harvests, and now it's time to reap that harvest, go, chop that wheat down, who's gonna go out there and do it and get the most from it? You feel me?
Right.
So like you could plant seeds and have a vision, all that type of stuff you want, but if you're not reaping that harvest, getting that harvest, you're not gonna get the reward from it. And
Right.
Yeah, and that's just, that's just, it's so important. People need to hear it, but also I think that you know, you could start slow too. Like you don't have to go, go at your own pace. Like you running your own race. Just be better than you
Right.
was yesterday. You feel me?
Right.
Don't look at nobody else as somebody that's waking up at 5 and working all day till 12 and they really doing it. They might have started just getting up an hour earlier at some point. Just get up an hour earlier. Just see how much more you
Right.
can get done with an hour earlier. Just
Right.
walk into the gym. If you're only there for 30 minutes, at least you got there.
Just start. Yep.
Yeah, just
Yep. Just
start.
get your feet set. Yep.
Yeah, and like one last thing is just like from my experience in life of because like you said, we came from that sports background. Um, I've like again back to the self-awareness thing. Like I'm gonna keep hammering on it because it's so important.
It
But
needs to
like,
be.
yeah, just looking at my life story and like my demons and what I struggle with, it's like, okay, I've always cheated the work. Like I was a cheater. Like suicides, I'm not touching the line for some reason. I'm not going all the way to the line in suicides.
Mm-hmm.
When the coach is turning his back, I'm walking. When we doing laps. When
Right.
in school, I'm cheating on the test. If it's I'm cheating. And I'm getting the result, but I'm cheating it. And you can't cheat the work in real life.
Mm-hmm.
That shit might fly in school or like these little superficial, and it really didn't fly in school because I didn't, or sports. I didn't go to the NBA because I cheated the work. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't go to my dream school because I cheated the work. All these different things still didn't happen because I cheated the work. So maybe it felt like I was getting over in the short term, but in the
Mm-hmm.
long term, the real the real product of your labors is there. You feel me?
Right.
In the short term, oh, I'm making it. I'm doing straight. I'm going through the motions, but I'm cheating. So like, yeah, I
Only
just
God
wanted to touch
knows.
on that. Yeah, yeah, facts. Facts. God and yourself. I mean, you gotta sit with that. You feel me? So like,
Yeah.
and the results gonna show. Like Ross said, he was like, that's how we tell who was working the hardest in 10 years, who got the most money, who did the most, who did what they were supposed to. Like the talk is
Mm-hmm.
cheap, but
Right.
yeah, that's a message in itself to work.
To actually I was gonna bring a Ross quote into I think he was saying something about he's like, I'm okay with a slow success, like I'm okay with something because he understands like that it takes time and that people especially what we were talking about last time with the society and like the quick thing, quick gratification. I almost am afraid of quick success like that because I know that with quick success comes like an unstable base, you know. Whereas like when you are slowly building up and going at your own pace, kind of like what you were saying, like just 1% each day, that's like really laying the bricks to the whole house and to the whole foundation. And that's why like the slow success is so needed because if you hit the success quick, then you like it's like you have one brick trying to hold up a whole tower. Like it's gonna
Yeah,
come crashing
right.
down. It's just a matter of when, because
Yeah,
and
you're
also
not
like when
really
you have
built for it.
right, right, and not built for it mentally or like with your plans. Like you won't have it planned out for like how you handle that. And that's why
Yeah,
like when he said that in the interview, like it really hit me. And I screen recorded it and everything because like I
mm-hmm,
needed to hear that and I needed that like to stay with me.
mm-hmm,
Just because like one of my competitors I feel like has had really quick growth
mm-hmm.
and I look at that quote or I watch that interview a lot because I know that like what I'm doing is the right way and I'm doing it correctly. And so it's kind of just good to hear to kind of refresh myself. But I think there's a lot of truth to that.
And just that last part of the quote too, like move correctly. He like, I'm not trying
Mm-hmm.
to move fast. I just want to move correctly. And I think that's, you know, that correctly comes from that solitude, like we was touching on earlier, figuring out, really getting in depth with who you want to be in life. You feel me? Because once you're
Mm-hmm.
once you got that foundation, you set up for the house. Like, it's strong. Once that's strong, you really understand it to the core levels, like really write it down, like really get deep into who you want to be, your dream life, and then just go to work to build it. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
really that simple. Like if
Mm-hmm.
it's like if you could create a life for yourself, what would you create? Write that down. then, make a plan, backtrack to where you are, make a plan. Okay, if this is where I want to be doing in 20 years, then okay, should I be doing in 10 years? What should I be doing in 5 years? What should I be doing in 3 years? What should I be doing next year? What should I be doing next month? What should I be doing next week? What should I be doing tomorrow? What should I be doing right now?
Today, yes.
So
yes,
it's like,
that's deep.
So it's just like, yeah.
I think too, what you were saying about how planning it for years and years like that, like that's very important, because it provided some guidance, some form of like direction, whereas like, and honestly, like there's like, you brought up both good points, like also focusing on just today, but also having the understanding and like that trust in the 10-year plan, because that's really a gem, because if you start, like you wake up today thinking about tomorrow, like today's wasted, like that's already wasted.
Sheesh.
And because think about it, like if you're not able to switch that thinking up, it'll be like that literally forever, and you'll never hit the 10-year plan.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that thing. I forgot what it was, but it's like if you were to collect a penny a day, isn't it like you'd be a millionaire, or you'd be like something in like some type of, you know what it is?
Yeah, it was
it's
like
something like that.
It's like, would you want $1 million right now, or would you want a penny a day for the next 30 days or something like that? And then it ends up being like 10 million or something like that. It's just like, just like that compound interest.
It's like that though, and that's the thing is kind of when you lay down the base, when you have the slow success and you have the slow growth, what it does too is like it obviously throws a lot of adversity towards you, so it prepares you for like when you are at the top. You feel like you have more character, you feel like you're more developed, you're more matured, because you've gone through the beginning steps, like through the mud and through all this dirty shit to get to it. So then when you're actually at the top, you're fully prepared, like you're fully confident. You know what I mean? And you don't have that mindset switch of like, oh my God, I've made it. Because you realize the work, and you look back on the work that's being put in, like to that point, and you understand, and you feel very successful and very like happy with where you are in that moment. You know what I mean?
And like I just want to touch on what you were saying with the penny analogy. That like basically refers to like the compound effect. That's a good book by Darren Hardy if anybody wants to check it out. The compound effect's fire. But basically, like, you may start like this, like going step. Like people think the journey will be linear, like just straight to the top. But it's more so exponential. So like you start off kind of slow, and while you think you're supposed to be up here, you go slow, but then you reach that point to where it's like, okay, now it just ramps up because you did all that work in the beginning to now create a person, because it's more about what you become, not what you acquire, but you've created that person. So now when way more opportunities arise, you're in a better position to handle those, and stuff speeds up a lot faster in a way. So and just in my own journey, having that long-term vision has helped me out a ton, because I have big aspirations. I'm gonna keep it a stat. I've been called a dreamer before. I have a lot of big aspirations and stuff like that. I mean, they was kind of using it as an insult, but and that was a checking point too, because that was during quarantine. I had hopped on somebody's like show, and they did like a call, and I could ask them questions. And I was like telling my aspirations, like, you're a dreamer, bro. And I'm like, damn, okay, whatever. That just made me do like some reflection on just like, okay, I want these big things, but what's the steps to get there? What's the starting point to get there? And then it helps to have that written down, because now when I wake up and I know what I have to do for the day, I know why I'm doing it for the long term. Because that's how I feel like that's how sometimes people get demotivated. It's just like they don't know why they're doing it at a point. It's just like, I ain't seeing no traction. I'm not, but 2020 is hindsight. Looking back, that's when you can see all the real traction you made. Like, dang, if I never worked out, maybe I wouldn't have got this opportunity, that wouldn't have led to this opportunity, that wouldn't have, so you can have that looking back, but looking forward is kind of foggy. So writing it down helps get rid of some of that fog, and helps you while you're driving. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's very good. Yeah. I probably need to start doing that even more too, to be honest with you. I think there's a lot of truth to that, and a lot of God, I just think that what you just said right there is not touched on enough in documenting that, because I think one of the hardest things, at least that I've experienced so far with entrepreneurship, is when you do hit that bump or you do hit that thing, like, and you are starting to question and you are starting to experience like different emotions about it, like how do you keep yourself on track? I think what you just said is exactly that. And I think that, like, especially specifically me, like I need to do that more often too, like
And I
keeping that in mind.
and I took that from your bar of just writing it down every day. I might have it all written down on one document where I could look at, but the power of pen and pad and just writing it down at the beginning of a day, of just like
Mm,
reminding you who you're becoming, what you want to be, or whatever it may be, just like a sentence is even powerful enough to just like, just have that. Cool. That's who I'm embodying today. Cause that's a whole other thing we gotta hit up. Is you gotta embody who you're becoming today.
yeah,
It's not somebody you're trying to be later on in life. It's who you are today, and you're just becoming that person step by step and embodying that person. It's not like,
I like that.
oh, one day I'll get there, one day I'll be like this. Like, no, if you're not like that today, it's never gonna happen.
Right,
you
right,
know.
right.
Yeah,
Damn.
yeah. Where we at? We at 8:10. I think we got started like 8:20. So we've been at it a good 40, 50. Yeah, we got started 7:20. Yeah. 7:25, 7:30-ish. You got anything else for the people just on
Um,
you know, I guess, finding final statements on just advice on finding your purpose and passion and how to stay focused on that. Um, Final thoughts.
finding purpose. I think honestly, like, and I've heard this like I heard this too, and it was cliche to me, and like I didn't really like understand it for a while. But like, you just got to get out there. Like, you just got to go. And one of the books I read, that obviously a lot of people have probably read this too. It's called Relentless by Tim Grover, and he's Kobe and MJ's like former trainer. And he's like just a big guy about like mental toughness and about mental strength. And literally the biggest takeaway I've gotten from his book is just don't think. Like, you just can't think. Like,
Yeah,
thinking in I can't even think about, like, I thinking really is like one of the worst things that we can do. And what I mean by thinking, I mean thinking about things, like making scenarios in our head, thinking about things that haven't happened, like doing things that are like throwing us off of our track. And he really, like, he puts so much effort literally in like every chapter about not thinking. Like, don't think. And the moment you're thinking, you have to snap out of it, because he talked about like when Kobe or like when MJ was in that killer mode in the game, you
yeah,
don't realize you're in the mode. You don't think about it and be like, oh, I'm in killer mode right now. You're just going. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, you can't, because the moment you sit back and think and be like, oh, I'm doing this, that's when it's done. It's off. And I applied that into this own
mm,
thing, because now I just started acting and like posting content and just doing things without even thinking about it. Because the more I would think about it, the more it would kind of like start to go in my head. I'm triple thinking it or double thinking it, whatever, like consistently, it's over and over again. Then to the point where like, I'm not going to post it anymore. You know what I mean? Where you just got to get it out. You just got to go get your feet wet, go, and just realize that everyone in this area, everyone really everywhere, is trying to find their lane. It's not just you as a person. I'm talking to like you as the audience. Like,
yeah,
everyone's trying to do it. They're just trying to mask that because no one wants to be embarrassed about it. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And especially
Uh,
like for our age too, bro. Like, there's just so many people who are lost still and like haven't found their lane yet. And not dissing them at all. Like, I totally understand that. Like, everyone's lane comes at different times and different things. But for the people who want to get out of that and like who feel like discouraged or feel like lost in that, you just got to go somewhere and just move and like kind of get around, because that's the only way you're going to find out about yourself and about like what you like and what your passion is and what your calling is. So
that's a key. That's a key. I hope they is listening. That's a key.
mhm.
That's one of the biggest keys. That's what I needed to hear. That's what I needed my older self to hear, because I've always made the most progress when I was in that mode of just not caring, just going and just figuring it out as you go, and just doing it every day, like just going,
Right.
and not thinking, like you said, And, you know, like I said, I made the most progress. And every time I fall off, it's because I'm doing that. And once you notice that pattern, you have to recognize that pattern and try to break it. You know, every time it comes back up, you just have to, that's why that's gonna be my key, my tip is like, you know, have that time of solitude and get real self-aware of what you really want, tune out the noise, get it on paper, even if it's not a 20-year vision, even if it's not a 10-year, 5-year, 3-year. Where do you want to be just next year? I think a year is even a good starting point. You know, just where do you want to be next year? Write it down, make a plan on how to get there. Then once you have that plan, don't second guess it. And that's where yours come in. Like, don't second guess it. Just execute on it every day. When you feel demotivated, go back to that plan. This is where you're going. And just get back to execute. You know, the more you think about, is this right? The more you pitter patter with the, you know, should I be doing this, and get focused back on where you're going and execute. And that's fire. And
straight like that.
Yeah, I think we could end it there. That's fire. So you got anything else?
No, that was a great way to end it, bro. I like that a lot.
Okay, bet. So yeah, appreciate y'all for tuning in for EP2 of the Prosper Performance Podcast. You know, we just trying to give game on how to become your best version while we on the journey of becoming our best version. Stay tuned for more episodes. We got fire stuff coming. You know, we got guests coming
a lot.
Yeah, so just stay tuned for that. Yeah, I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Y'all can follow me at Javian Hodges everywhere. If you go to my Instagram, you'll see the Prosper Performance Instagram. Tap in there, get your fitness and health content and the podcast and all that good stuff. Gabe, where can they find you at?
You can find my Instagram at Gabe Cardenas6, and my Twitter is I think GCard6, and my Glovework page is at Glovework Training. That easy. So
yes, sir. Y'all tap in, and yeah, we'll catch y'all on the next one.
Appreciate you guys.